Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinex.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
So did you people have a color code?
What I do sometimes, I just say, what are you wearing? Okay, I'm just going to wear, so we match.
I noticed that yesterday.
Did you? I did that. I actually did that yesterday.
Like, now this is
not a coincidence. You're the leader here. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic. Good morning, Rufai. Rufi on fire.
Machi,
yes.
Oji,
We are red today. Nigerians are not smiling. Well, let's begin what's trending.
Wow.
Correct. We'll begin what's trending with reactions trailing the nationwide protest organized by the Nigeria Labour Congress. On Tuesday, protesters made their way into the National Assembly complex to drive home their message regarding the state of the economy. The protesters demanded an address from the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, as they chanted his name.
Responsibility for the PCC. We are calling on Senator Fabio, take responsibility for the PCC.
Meanwhile, the police in Lagos distributed water and biscuits to protesters who trooped out en masse.
It is part of the allocation. Part of the allocation. Yes, the water.
What I'm seeing is really surprised me. The police in this rally sharing water and biscuit. I've never seen it since I was born, because I've always been active in any protest that happened in Nigeria. I'm seeing it for the first time. This is it. This biscuit given to me by police, and this is water also given to me, just to refreshing me, to give me more energy, so that I'll be able to trek to where we are going.
Well, kudos to the Nigerian police. Someone at the protest there sent me a message. I think you even highlighted it, that, you know, the protesters were asking for food, swallow, ever. And then they said they will stay on the street till next year, even. Yeah. I mean, that goes to show that there really is hunger in the land. Yeah. Well, in the meantime, human rights lawyer Femi Falana said the provision of palliatives by the government is not enough to address the current economic challenges facing Nigerians. He also called for a social security bill to address the economic hardship in the country.
So what we are suggesting to the House and to the National Assembly is a passage of a social security bill to take care of the vulnerable in our society and to ensure that at the end of the month, not once in a blue moon, as you had during COVID-19, that you are going to talk of cash transfer. It must be a regular phenomenon until we're able to provide them with employment. That's the purpose.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress suspended further street protests earlier scheduled to continue today. The president of the NLC, Ajaero, has urged the federal government to urgently address hunger and economic hardship in the country.
The NLC is sounding it loud and clear that Nigerians are hungry. That our currency is weak. That transportation is high. That there's insecurity everywhere. That there's unemployment everywhere. That the wage is insufficient. That there are no pensions, no gratuity. People are suffering. The cash transfer, they say they are going to transfer 25,000 to people. They have not transferred anything.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has asked the All Progressives Congress to explain to Nigerians the outcome of the rice pyramids launched by former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2022. The PDP National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, on Monday, said that the demand for such an explanation was necessary, owing to the hunger and the harsh economic conditions in the country. He also questioned how Nigeria got to the level where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared an emergency on food, and to the stage that the Nigerian customs began selling seized rice, resulting to the loss of lives after a stampede. The PDP spokesman went further to state that former President Muhammadu Buhari told Nigerians that there was abundance of rice production in Abuja, but that now the pyramid of rice turns out to be a pyramid of lies. I thought that was an important question. You're smiling. I'm going to come to you because you're smiling. But it is the fact. Absolutely. Because in 2020, there were billions spent on that AMCOS Boras program. And then we hear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declaring a state of emergency on food. Yeah. What happened?
So in 2022, there was a big show of this launch of the rice pyramid that was made up of 1 million bags of rice. And at that time, it was said that it was one of the biggest promises during the then President Buhari's campaign in 2015 to make Nigeria food self-sufficient. And there was a lot of noise made about it, reports here and there, and it was celebrated because we had seen that, okay, the anchor, at least one policy in terms of the Anchor Boras program, the closing of the borders, banning of importation of rice. They said at the time that the import bill of rice went from $1 billion down to $18.5 million in 2021 from 2015. So significant progress was made. Yeah. One would imagine then that since 2022, just 2 years, I'm sure maybe even less than 2 years, that rice pyramid should still be functioning and should kick in at a time like this when Nigerians are hungry and they're even now saying that they should open the land borders and let's just start importing. So that's a good question that the PDP has asked the APC government, because when we talk about government being a continuum, it's even more significant because it's the same party, APC to APC, there was no change. So maybe this administration forgot about the pyramids, and so it's great that they've been reminded that such an initiative was launched by the previous administration. You know, it's the same thing, the same questions that were asked around the food, the grains reserve, and the fact that they said they were releasing tons of grains, and we hadn't seen, unfortunately, that didn't reach the intended. So what is, are we having audio promises? Then the amount of money, billions of dollars, like you mentioned, that was allocated to the building or to the commission of that rice, what happened to that? The AMCOS Boras program, we need to probe these schemes and initiatives, because these are, it was the commonwealth of the people that sponsored or paid for these initiatives, and it should benefit the Nigerian people. So the big question to the APC and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in particular is rice pyramids. What is happening with that? Hopefully they can release the rice there and let them flood the market to the bags of rice from there.
Yes, that's a very good question. Where's the rice pyramid and all of that? But we should also put some analysis in place. If they said that was 1 million bags of paddy, not rice, if you finally process the paddy, it will be way less than what you got there. And I don't know the direct calculation now, but 1 million bags, when you convert it to metric tons, it's not up to what Nigerians consume, because we consume a lot of rice. I think the also question we should now ask is, was there sustainability in the production? Because 1 million bags of rice probably will not go far, with due respect. And the problem has always, and most of this that you're seeing were paddies. Paddies still have like the shell on it. You now take them to the rice mill and you mill them out.
All right.
So the question is, how can we be able to upscale the production of rice? And we should ask them the intervention. How did they upscale the production? Because take for instance, the Rota rice mill is said to do over 2 million, bags a year. That 1 million bags of rice cannot effectively cater to the capacity of the Rota rice mill. And that's why you see they are talking about even importing paddy and all of that. So the question we should now ask is, the intervention, how did this scale up the production of rice? Because if they said 1 million bags, it's a very small thing. Yeah, but at the time they said it was self-sufficient.
The Anchor Boras program was introduced in 2015 to encourage agricultural production. Now, in 2022, when they brought those rice pyramids, which they displayed in front of the Chamber of Commerce at the Federal Capital Territory, it was to show that the anchor borrowers program was working and that Nigeria could feed itself. Now, what we were told then was that the farmers were showing those bags of rice that they will sell to be able to repay their loan, because it wasn't a grant, it was loan, and they were supposed to pay back. So if in 2022 we saw those bags of rice, the pyramid, just for optics, for show, I mean, those 1 million bags, they will have processed them, they will have sold them. You don't expect that in 2024 they have not. But the question to ask is, that local production of food, what happened? Has it been sustained? So the big question, in my view, is sustainability. Rather than raising the people's hope about rice, the same rice that the people are now struggling to get, that 7 people died. In Yaba Customs Depot. But of course, you know, Nigerian Customs, they've taken a very reasonable step by suspending, you know, the sale of those 25 kg bags of rice. And the lesson from that experience is that, look, all these efforts, whether by government or by private persons to make food available to people, it's about the organization. It's important to think through the organization, you know, so that hungry people don't even now die needlessly in the process. The first man that died, he fell and people trampled upon him until he died. That is the tragedy of the hunger in the land. But the question is relevant. What happened to the food availability program? The Tinubu administration says there is food. Maybe, you know, before the month runs out, maybe the Tinubu administration will also organize their own rice pyramid show in Abuja, just to reassure us.
That relevant question is there. What happened? What the sustainability? Well, those 7 people that died, they didn't need to die. May their souls rest in peace. Amen. We'll take another story. The senior special assistant to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on digital and new media, Otega Ogra, has defended the president's inclusion of his sons, Seyi and Yinka, among the delegation going with him to Qatar for a business and investment meeting. The list of delegates began circulating on social media on Tuesday in the wake of the president's directive to implement the Oronsaye report to cut the cost of governance. Ogra, in a bid to defend the inclusion of the president's family among the delegates going to Qatar, said that some world leaders take their children on state visits to educate them about world affairs and different cultures and to maintain a semblance of family life despite the demands of public office. His tweet reads, "It is not uncommon for children of world leaders to accompany their parents on foreign trips. In fact, it is the norm. Canadian PM Trudeau is known to travel with his family on official trips abroad. Same with UK PMs, even if somewhat muted. From the public image and diplomacy angle, bringing family members can soften a leader's public image and aid in diplomatic relations by showcasing a relatable, family-oriented side. For some leaders, taking their children on such trips is a way of educating them about world affairs and different cultures. Others do it to maintain some semblance of family life, despite the demands of public office, and for security considerations. The Obamas, Clintons, Bushes, Trumps, and others went on tons of foreign trips while in office with their families. We really need to stop majoring in minors in the name of castigating everything." Well, I wrote hashtag Nigeria will succeed. Obviously, Nigeria will succeed, but you know that a lot of Nigerians have always talked about cutting cost of governance, even just in the wake of the Oronsaye report, and the fact that, you know, I believe it was COP28, that whole nonsense about the huge delegation came up. Well, let me take a reaction. This person wrote, "Lagos has always been a family business, and now Nigeria is going to be a family business too. The oppressed are the ones defending them. As Nigerians are bleeding, Nigerian politicians in their various positions are still living in luxuries, living large on their bogus salaries, compensations, allowances, loots, and other benefits. They'll come online to give out sweet interviews and talks, and then go back to their presidential villa to dine and wine. Nigerian people are none of their business. They are in politics to steal billions and enjoy the best things of life, while Nigerian people live in hunger, poverty, and misery on a daily basis. I see you nodding, Ayo. Obviously, you know that that's the rhetoric online because of what we've been talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so whenever we want to compare the economy of countries, and we use the UK, France, America as an example, they will say, oh, don't compare apples and oranges. Don't, oh, there are two different realities. Right. It's unfair to compare. However, when it fits the narrative, as we've seen with that statement, then they would say, oh, look at America, US and France, the same people. And I'm bringing that again, apples and oranges. Look at the size. Is America or is France going through the same thing that we are in terms of the economic realities of Nigeria? Absolutely not. Are they calling for a streamlining or a cut in governance, in cost of governance? Not at the moment. Right. So you cannot use that example, with due respect to Mr. Otega, saying that I do agree that yes, for educational purposes or to expose your children or to present a sense of family life. If that were the case, they should take the wife, grandparents, everybody just to show that he's a family man. But if the state is sponsoring this at a time when we have just had headlines around the implementation of the Rosai report, I believe that even for the optics, if you're not paying out of pocket, I don't know if it's the state that's sponsoring their trip. I want to assume that's the case. If that's the case, just because of what you keep asking Nigerians to make sacrifices to tighten their belts, then let us see that reflected in the in the spendings of the government. Right. Saying that, Mr. Otega himself, we question the jobs of the SSAs and retinues of SAs on media that the president has. Some of them need to go. I want him to keep his job, but I'm just saying that we have so many. So like I said, they are coming on Twitter, they're coming and just commenting on every single story. They need to show working. So this is what we see. But I think for the optics and in line and in accordance with what the president has said, let's stop all these trips for now.
Both want to comment.
Otega Ogra saying that other world leaders travel with family. The question to ask is, those family members that go with them, do they pay from their pockets, or are they following family, their father at state expense? Now, if you check in many other countries, you see that oftentimes, the presidents of those countries pay from their pockets if they have to go in terms of maintenance and all of that. You are citing the example of America, where in fact you can't eat anyhow at state expense in the White House. Otherwise, you have to pay, as Mrs. Obama pointed out. Now, in any case, there's also the famous example of Namibia, COP28 that you mentioned. In December 2023, President Gengop, now blessed memory, right, he traveled to Dubai with 6 members of his family. Yes, there was outreach. Right. In Namibia. Namibia Twitter exploded because people were saying, how can the president travel with his wife and then go with 4 children? The president's defense is that they had been planning vacation and that, members of his family were not sponsored by the state. So the question here is, who is paying for Seyi Tinubu and Yinka Tinubu? Are they going there as business investors? Because the trip to Qatar is about investment. Yeah. So what business do they do? Because if they are investors, if they had one big company and they are also going to go there and help Nigeria achieve the objectives of foreign direct investment, then of course you cannot question it, because they will then be bona fide qualified to be on that trip. But if they are just going because they are daddy's sons, then Nigerians have every reason to say, what is their role there? That's number one. Number two, in January, President Tinubu gave a directive that he was reducing presidential entourage for local and international travels. Now, what was assigned to the president then was an entourage of 20 for international travels, right? I think about 20 for international travels. There is a list that is circulating of main body. Main body means the team that goes with the president. Now, that list is in 2 parts. Some people will travel on the 28th. It's an advanced team of about 20 something people. Then you have the main body, the other main body that will travel with the president on the 29th. Those ones, I think they are about 28.
Yes.
Now, if you add the figure, then you raise the question, is the president violating his own directive?
Yeah.
Is he leading by example with regard to presidential entourage? Yeah. We will expect an explanation in that regard. The third point to be made about the trip to Qatar is that there was some controversy about the note verbal that came from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Qatar, flying around all over the place, you know, and then there was another note verbal when it became controversial that the business summit that the Qataris had said would not take place because of other commitments had now been allowed. But the point I want to make there is not about the diplomacy. You can exchange no verbal, aide memoire, bois de papier, you know, as they call it in diplomacy. The issue is about government documents flying about.
This is my question. What is going on?
In the rules and guidelines for civil servants, there is nowhere that civil servants are allowed to be carrying sensitive government documents and giving it to the media or distributing it on social media. In 2011, we had the Freedom of Information Act. If you want to access information, the Freedom of Information law outlines procedures by which you can access government documents, and there are exemptions provided for in that same law. But this one that everywhere is just porous, that every department of government, they have turned the government documents into something that just goes around.
Yeah, but I wasn't there a warning. There was a warning that was released by the presidency that they
by the office of the head of service.
It was leaked as well.
Right.
Yes, even that was leaked.
That was
even that directive, even that circular was leaked.
Well, I know you have a lot to say, Dr. Rufai. Should I take my final story and then you discuss both, or do you want to say this and then we'll finish? Well, it's more about cutting the cost of governance. But you know, the state governors have done a lot, you know, and now we're asking, and we've also highlighted the private sector as well. And then there was the news that came out about, you know, the airlines were talking about traveling. At last, the much anticipated discounted tickets for passengers traveling to London, England, on Nigeria's largest airline, Airpeace, is now available. The tickets have gone live on flyairpeace.com with return ticket fares at 1.2 million naira on economy class, while business class tickets are offered at reduced return fare of 4 million naira. Every Nigerian student studying in the United Kingdom, Europe, Canada, and the United States can now access their special 15% rebate on already reduced economy fares. Airpeace will commence its Lagos-London flight on March 30th, 2024. Sorry, when I saw this news yesterday, I was like, because I was trying to get a ticket to London, and it was 8 million naira on economy, on business class. I mean, you can see that. I mean, that's half of it. I mean, kudos to Airpeace and what they've been doing.
God bless
that
man.
Even
with the student fares and all of that.
Because these are the same people that are still making Nigeria do it. I remember the pain he went through before he got that route to London.
Yes.
So kudos to him. As for, you see, that's why, Ayo, with due respect, I'm talking generally. I think if we really want to implement the Orosai report, let's start by cutting all these Twitter SSCs. Because it's just duplication of duty. You know, how can a full-grown man come out every morning to be replying on Twitter to everything, and he calls that a job? I don't know how people even, do they even feel fulfilled within themselves? Just because you want to carry title, I have government position. A full-grown man. And when you talk, you have wrong, funny arguments. If he wants to compare, why doesn't he compare the Nigerian president with Millie of Argentina that flew commercial airline in December? Air Argentina. I think that's a better comparison. And you are comparing carrying two able-bodied businessmen on a plane with Obama at minus. You know, you see, you can see the comparison, you can see, but that's what happens when we pack a lot of jobless people into government, and all they do is to tweet here and there and all of that. Like 15 people are tweeting for government on Twitter, which is at a waste of our resource. Even to build their own platform, they don't have. If not for Elon Musk, they will not have platform to work. So that's part of why we were saying yesterday that the Orosei report is another smoke screen. It's just, you know, to be able to distract Nigerians.
Yeah.
It is staying in this government. We have special advisor on information and strategy. Then we have special advisor on media and publicity to the president. Can you imagine? What's the difference between information and strategy and media? So we have a lot of reproduction of duties. Hence, we have a lot of very faulty arguments. We should not be copying the wrong thing. Cost of government is high already.
Absolutely.
Taking 38 people for a trip to Qatar, and in the end, it's just promising, you know, they will bring home. All the investments in Saudi, where is it today?
All right. These are serious conversations, really pertinent questions you have asked, Rufai.
Oh, wow.
Well, all right. I'd like to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.